And of course, the Joneses came here by wagon train in 1852, and they left Indiana in March and arrived in actually Oregon City in September, and they had 10 wagons, all pulled by oxen, and they ended up with 40 people that made the journey. They lost 4 people to some of the way they describe it. There was typhoid fever, and there was all kinds of things that go wrong on this trip. I can't imagine walking that 2,000 or 3,000 miles through the summer, but they did it. And so there they were the first winter in Oregon City, and they brought sheep and cattle with them, which is kind of interesting. When they got up to Mount Hood, around the side of Mount Hood, they were on the Barlow Trail, and but the people with livestock turned and started down toward Oregon City, and the rest of them, it was an easier trip. They finished going around Mount Hood and then getting on a barge that went down to Silo Falls, and that's where they'd get off. But one of the Joneses fell in the water and drowned, which was terrible after he'd been spent all summer on this trip, and he was an uncle to everybody, and I guess he's quite a big fella. He was 300 pounds, but he succumbed, and that was too bad. So that was their first winter, was in Oregon City, and that spring, 3 of the men in the party decided to go out and look for some claims, and they started walking from Portland, and they ended up clear down to Ashland, and then in Ashland they turned around and started back, and when they got here at Roseburg, they went west a little bit, and they liked this ledge that's here overlooking the valley and the North Umpqua River, and so they put in a donation land claim for that, and sure enough, they ended up owning, well, almost 4,000 acres. It was from Edenbauer here to Winchester. Unless you have a map, you can't appreciate how much land was there. And so that was really a good way to get started. They even built the first community building here in Roseburg on the back property here on the hill. And I can find the foundation rocks, I have, and that was interesting that they built that. And they were very much enthused about education, and the Wilbur School, Reverend Wilbur's school, they contributed to that. So they were people that actually supported the country. I like to compare them to the Cruises now with their market, but they sold everything right here at the ranch, including milk and eggs and hams and everything. And the big thing was vinegar. I guess in those days, vinegar was a prized thing to have in your house. You notice some of the advertisements now that vinegar can do everything. You wash your floors with it and your windows. And my mother used to rinse her hair with it. But anyway, the road that comes in now from Roseburg was known as Vinegar Hill. And one of the relatives of Joneses was a cooper. And a cooper is the person that builds barrels. I've got some around here. And he built the barrels for the vinegar. And so they call that, coming down that hill, Vinegar Hill. And so vinegar was used for a lot of things. There was only about 2 things that you could take when you got sick in those days, either vinegar or Epsom salts, which is called Gluber's salt in those days. So you had a choice, take one or the other. And of course, they always said that vinegar was good for women's complaints. Now, I've tried it on Betty, but I don't know, it didn't make any difference.